What's up everybody, Kinetic here, and welcome to Demon's Souls. Today's going to be a different video. Actually, it's going to be quite different. Normally I would do the whole live commentary with the camera on me and stuff like that, but this is actually all pre-recorded gameplay, and I'm just now commentating for it. It's going to be a bit of a montage, and I think after I explain what all of this is and things like that, you will understand why it's all pre-recorded and not live commentary. First of all, I want to thank everybody who's been giving me comments and sending me PMs and things like that, telling me various tips and tricks about things in Demon's Souls. There's one particular person, Angelic Dragon, who was giving me lots of advice pretty much in every video, and he said it repeatedly. I'm assuming this is a he. If you're a girl, my bad. Angelic Dragon was talking about a set of armor that I could get in 1-1 of Boletaria, and I was checking into it, and basically there's like a little path where I can enter from a gate into another area and be able to pick up this armor and stuff like that. And I was like, great, that sounds awesome. I would love to get a new set of armor, something maybe a little bit heavier or whatever. And unfortunately, when I approached it, the gate was closed. So I'm like, well, what the hell? And I looked into it myself by searching various game forums and things like that, and it turned out that it had something to do with world tendency. And basically what world tendency is depending on your performance in the game of Demon's Souls, your tendency, or sort of status really, will either go towards white because you've been killing and surviving and stuff like that, or if you suck and you're dying, then it will move towards black. And both actually have their advantages and disadvantages. For example, white, the enemies will become easier to kill, but unfortunately you will get less loot. And the opposite is true for the black tendency. The enemies will be stronger and more difficult to kill, but you will get awesome loot, apparently, from Black Tendency, and each tendency also has special events, such as accessing this special set of armor, which needs pure white tendency, which means that I have to not die, I've got to kill a lot of demons, and just generally do good in Boletaria. So it seemed like I was really close. It was really bright when I checked the status of Boletaria, but it wasn't open. So that meant that I was just a little bit behind having a pure white tendency for Boletaria. So then I was like, alright, well, then what do I need to do in order to get pure white tendency in Boletaria? And I started looking at my options, and one of the things that popped up in the list was kill the red dragon, or wyvern, whichever you want to call it. Basically, so I looked into, alright, well, how do I kill the red dragon? You guys know the red dragon. It's the one that keeps harassing me every time I try to go across the bridge and stuff like that. And I remembered actually a comment. Somebody said something about killing the dragon with bow and arrow. And I was like, wow, that sounds kind of difficult. But then I sort of like semi-imagined doing it from the tower, and sure enough, I looked into a little strategy about how to kill the red dragon, and that's exactly what you do. You stand up on top of the first tower, the red dragon will come and do his normal, like, flame breath to try and torch everybody and everything on the bridge, and then when he gets close enough to the tower, then you can just start pew-pewing away at him to try and take him down. And this takes quite a lot of time and quite a lot of ammunition. I went through all of the throwing knives that I had, all of the bolts from my crossbow that I had, and I brought tons of arrows to shoot down this fucker. And finally, he did eventually go down, and I got a pure white status in Boletaria, which means that I can therefore go, hopefully, and check out the gate, and there it was open, and so I go in, but this was not going to be as easy as I thought. I was honestly just expecting to walk in and just grab stuff and then leave, but it turned out to be a whole different kind of situation. It turned out actually to be much more interesting and dangerous than that. There are these black phantoms that spawn, quite a few of them that spawn, and I need to to kill them in order to proceed. Thankfully, they're really just Black Phantom versions of the normal, I don't know what the technical term for it is. I just call them zombies, because that's what they act like. They act like zombies. They're basically just Black Phantom versions, which are a little bit more powerful, but their actions are the same, and so they're really easy to kill. However, upon further exploration into where the hell this gear is that I'm looking for, I run into Meralda, and she was definitely something I wasn't expecting. Very, very aggressive, very fast, and I mean, not entirely very dangerous for me at this point, but had I come here earlier, I think that she probably would have kicked my ass. But thankfully, I was, I guess, experienced enough, I was prepared enough, that, yeah, it was an interesting fight, but it wasn't too big of a deal, and she did go down. And she did drop some gear, but it turns out that what she drops, most of it, is really just for female only. And since you can't sell anything in Demon's Souls, then it's really just junk, and, you know, not worth carrying, basically. So I go further inside, and I do eventually find the place where the armor is, and then I have a bit of an inventory problem because I had picked up the female-only stuff. I don't know why, but I just did. And so then I sort of had to do a little bit of an inventory shuffle here, but I did get the gear, and as you can see, this is what it looks like, and it's absolutely heavy. I wish that he had told me before I went into this place just how goddamn heavy this stuff is, because, I mean, like I said, I haven't had a problem just picking it up. It was so damn heavy. It filled my capacity to carry items that I had to drop a bunch of stuff, including my original armor. I know. I actually had to drop my original armor just to pick this shit up. And which was quite a bummer for me, especially because as I was messing around with this new armor here in the Nexus, I began to realize that this is not something that I really want to wear, or really can efficiently wear even at this time, because it's so heavy. I can't roll around and stuff like that, so it's not great for all situations. But more damaging than that is the way that it puts my item burden situation. It's so damn heavy that I barely have any space anymore to actually carry anything, and that is just no. That is just no. I can't do that at all. So I'm gonna have to put this armor away, and I started looking into, all right, well, what's another set of armor that I can get? And what I ended up doing is I went to Tower of Latria. I found out that there's another identical set, I believe it's called Flooded armor, there in the beginning area of Tower of Latria. So I did go back to Tower of Latria, and just a wee bit beyond where you guys saw me play in Tower of Latria was a full set of fluted armor that I could pick up. So I did go ahead and replace that. So now I'm back to my original armor. I think probably even bigger than that was something else that happened. I got a PM from somebody whose name I won't mention because they don't want to be named. But I got a PM from somebody talking about how to get, how to kill the next boss. They sent me a video of how to kill the Dragon God, and as soon as I started watching it, I immediately stopped it, and I sent a message back to this person. I said, hey man, I'm not interested in looking at strategies. I just want to play the game and figure it out for myself if I can. And he sent me a reply saying, trust me, you want to know the strategy, because if you don't do this right the first time, then there's a very likely chance that you won't be able to get special weapon or something like that. And I'm like, special weapon? And so I started looking into it because I was really curious, what special weapon? And like, is this is like a one-time opportunity to get a really powerful weapon or something like that? And that's what it is. It's called the Dragon Bone Smasher. And basically, you have one chance. the way that it seems from what I read, to pick up this awesome sword. And what you need, pure white world tendency. So here we go. This is another reason why I was looking into pure white world tendency, because this is all going on at the same time as me looking up the information about trying to get the other armor from Boletaria and stuff like that. I was in the conversation and talking about this whole situation with the Dragonbone Smasher around the same time. So understanding the way white world tendency was and things like that, and then looking into the strategy for the dragon god fight and how to get the Dragonbone Smasher, is really difficult choice. I guess that's the only way I can put it. Because on one hand, I'm thinking to myself, wow, I really don't want to spoil the boss fight, you know what I mean? And, you know, just go by somebody's strategy. But on the other hand, and this is what really justified it for me, is that this Demon Souls playthrough is probably going to be the one and only time I actually do play Demon Souls. Because after this, I'm going to move on to Dark Souls, and then after that, I'm going to move on to Dark Souls 2 when that comes out next year. And so if I'm going to only play Demon Souls one time, which is what I think is going to happen, then I want to make the best of this playthrough. You know what I mean? I don't want to miss something that could potentially be really, really awesome. You know what I mean? If it's a weapon or a set of armor or something like that, and you only have one chance to get it, don't you really kind of want to know then how to do it, how to get it? I was like, well, if I want this sword, and I do want it, because this is exactly the kind of thing that I'm going for with my character, then I'm going to have to understand the strategy. So I went ahead, knowing all of this, and I made my decision to go ahead and go forward with it. I mean, I really had no choice, because I already knew for all this information about it, I might as well do it. And so I did the strategy, and it turns out it's not even really that big of a boss fight. It's you don't directly fight the boss for the most part. Really, what you're doing is you're just turning on switches and getting these harpoons to pin down the dragon, so that way you can, you know, sneeze on it a couple of times and then it dies. So I did the strategy and I took care of the dragon, which was kind of cool, but I didn't really celebrate it, because I mean, there was really no reason for me to celebrate unless I get the sword, because that's what it was all about. It was all about getting the sword. And so I finished the dragon, and then I went over to check to see if I could get the Dragonbone Smasher, and there were rocks in the way. And I was kind of upset. I mean, I was thinking to myself, I mean, it's not that big of a deal if I don't get this, if I don't get the Dragonbone Smasher. And so even here at this point, I'm kind of like, well, that sucks, but, you know, there's nothing I can do about it, it seemed like. So pretty much I had given up on the Dragonbone Smasher. But then there was something in the back of my mind that was like, really, there isn't any way that we can get this damn sword, because I swear I must be pure white world tendency. And so I continued to look at the forums for a while and look into what people had to say about not getting the Dragonbone Smasher, even though they thought they had pure white world tendency. And it turns out that there is an alternative. If you don't go into the area and fight the dragon under a pure white world tendency, again, if you do kill the dragon, then it will push you, hopefully, into a pure white world tendency. So I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure I have white world tendency now. What I need to do, I guess, is go back to the Nexus, because it turns out that your tendency won't instantly transform. Your character's tendency will, because there's also a character tendency, but the world tendency will not change immediately until you go back to the Nexus. So what I did was I held my breath and I went back to the Nexus. And then I immediately went right back to Stonefang via the same flame lurker archstone. And when I turned the corner, there it was. No stones, the Dragon Bone Smasher ready for the taking. And I was so happy, man. I was so happy. Like, it wasn't like an explosion of energy and me dancing all over the place, but just inside, like, I felt like this sense of relief that all of that wasn't in vain. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I spoiled the boss. I spent all this time trying to figure out white world tendencies and stuff like that, and doing research about the sword. If I didn't get the sword, it really would have kind of like haunted me, I think, just a little bit, that I didn't get it. But here I did get it, and it is awesome. Combining this with the new armor set that I got from Boletaria makes me look like such a fucking badass. It's great. It is so awesome. However, again, I am sort of stuck in this situation where even though I have this amazing stuff, I don't really have the stats to make it worth using and carrying right now. I mean, I do have the strength for all of it. I have the strength to use it effectively. But like I said, the issue is the item burden and the equipment burden. Mostly the item burden, really, because when I carry like the sword, the shield, and the armor, it's just ridiculous. Like I can't even pick up like hardly anything if I go to a new area like this. So what I'm gonna do is I will continue to use my fluted armor, the second set that I have picked up, and continue to use my my basic equipment. And I will go into the next areas. I will continue to farm souls and things like that, and hopefully sometime in the near future, because I don't want it to take too long, hopefully in the near future I will be able to wield the Dragon Bone Smasher, the big ass shield, and this awesome looking set of armor without it crippling my my capacity to pick up and collect things around in Demon Souls. So I think that is about it for this video. I think that covers everything. You guys get to see a montage of all sorts of different things that happened. I played quite a lot of Demon Souls, as you can see. This is all yesterday. All of this took place yesterday, and yeah, I feel pretty good about it. I feel kind of, it still sucks a little bit that the Dragon God boss was sort of spoiled for me in that sense, and I promise you guys, I really do, that this is, unless there's other situations like this, I am not going to spoil bosses like this for myself and for these videos. I want to go into these bosses not knowing what the hell is going to happen, so that way I get a kind of pure experience, you know what I mean? So that way I don't have a strategy that I just adapt to what little I know about how to deal with the boss, if anything at all, and then just do it. And if I really suck at it and I can't beat it, well then I guess I'll resort to some kind of strategy or something like that. But I do not want to repeat doing this sort of thing again with, you know, already knowing how to do things, unless, like I said, there is another kind of like Dragon Bone Smasher item where if I don't do it a certain way, then I'll lose it forever kind of situation. But anyway, that's it. I think I have shown you guys quite a lot of cool stuff in this video, and I would really like to know what you guys think overall about all of the things that are in this video, all the things that I talked about, and the comments below. So yeah, looking forward to reading that. Click the like button if you enjoy this video, and if you're a new viewer, make sure that you click the subscribe button for more coming up soon. My name is Kinetic, and I'll see you guys next time.